You'll regret this gift, witch. Look, I'll be straight with you from the start. Birthdays were never my thing. While guys my age throw big parties or expect their wives to plan some show, I'm fine with a quiet dinner at home. Maybe a slice of New York cheesecake if I feel fancy. Then call it a night. Simple joys. None of that. Look at me. It's my big day junk that half the world seems to love once they hit 34. But my wife's sister, Vanessa, had other plans. Here's the twist. She wasn't just my sister-in-law, she was also the CEO of Vanguard Apex Realty, where I'd been head of project ops for 3 years. Family and work. Yeah, not my smartest move. I've had plenty of time to think about that mistake. Now, before I tell you how this blew up, you need to get one thing about Vanessa. She built her whole career on never asking anyone for anything, and she wore that CEO swagger-like armor. Confident grin, sharp charm, the kind that could cut glass. As for me, my resume says 12 years in urban systems and infrastructure. Sounds fancy, but really it means I'm the guy who makes sure big projects get built without falling apart, going broke, or killing someone. I see both the big picture and the tiny cracks that can ruin it. Some people call it obsessive. I call it professional paranoia. Wishing a very happy birthday to my favorite brother-in-law, she remarked, flashing a smug grin that should have served as a warning sign as vast as Florida. Her tone was too sweet, too slick, like a used car dealer swearing this ride was only driven to church on Sundays. The room went quiet, waiting for the reveal. I thought maybe whiskey or some high-end corporate gift. Instead, I pulled out a black t-shirt with the company logo on it in bold white letters. You're fired. Consider it my gift to you. For 3 seconds, I thought it was some sick joke, but her eyes weren't laughing. They were cold, sharp, dead serious. This wasn't a prank. It was a firing squad dressed up as a birthday gift. The room broke into this odd, uneasy laughter. You know the kind. Like when someone cracks a joke at a funeral that's a little too dark, so half the people laugh and the rest act like they didn't hear it. Robert Silva from accounting let out this fake chuckle that sounded like a car trying to start on a frozen morning. Chloe from HR buried her face in her wine glass, probably already doing the math on how many lawsuits this stunt might trigger. But the worst hit came from my wife. I turned to Evelyn, expecting anger. Instead, she just smiled. Not shocked, not uneasy. A knowing smile, the kind that told me she'd been in on it all along. Here's something most people don't know about me. I've got a slow fuse when it comes to emotional hits. While others break down or blow up right away, I slip into this strange, sharp focus mode. Time feels slower, and I catch little details I'd normally miss. Like how Vanessa's smirk wasn't quite reaching her eyes, suggesting she was nervous about how this was going to play out despite her confident exterior. Or how Brandon Cross from engineering department was slowly backing toward front door like he was planning escape route. But the detail that really stuck with me was way my wife was holding her wine glass. Loose, casual. Like she was at the movie theater watching good guy finally get what was coming to him. I kept my composure. Years of dealing with construction crews and impossible deadlines had taught me how to stay cool when everyone's losing their minds. I folded the shirt neatly like I was working retail at the Gap, placed it back in the bag, and stood up with all casual confidence of guy who just received exactly what he was expecting for his birthday. Appreciate it, Vanessa. I won't forget this. Then I walked outside for air, leaving behind a room full of people who had no idea they had just witnessed the opening act of what was about to become a very expensive lesson in corporate karma. Standing on my front porch, breathing in cool evening air, I felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. Yeah, relief. Because sometimes you don't realize how toxic your situation has become until someone does you favor of showing you exit door, even if they do it with all grace of sledgehammer to face. While I was standing there being all stoic and mysterious, I was actually doing something that would make their worst nightmares look like Disney movie. I slipped phone out of pocket, casual as you please, and sent 2 quick text messages that were about to change everything. First one went to Logan. It happened. Game time. Second went to my attorney friend Frank. Need to talk tonight. Cool evening air hit my face like slap of reality, and I found myself listening to muffled sounds of uncomfortable conversation filtering through windows. Someone was trying to salvage the party, making small talk about weekend plans, but you could hear tension underneath it all, like gas leak nobody wanted to acknowledge. Every major function, every critical piece of project data, every submission to city planning departments, it all required my personal digital signature to proceed. Why'd I build it that way? About a year earlier, we had this subcontractor, sleazy little weasel named Victor Vance, who decided to improve electrical blueprints without telling anyone. His improvements would have turned a safe office building into a potential trap. I caught it during routine audit, but realized giving everyone unlimited access to critical data was like handing loaded guns to toddlers. So, I implemented approval gates. Certain high-level project data required my personal authorization before it could be accessed or submitted. At the time, Vanessa thought it was brilliant. Great thinking, she'd said. This way, we ensure quality control at every level. Turns out quality control works both ways. 2 hours later, I had 142 missed calls. The system was locked. They couldn't access anything without my credentials. And tomorrow was the deadline for submitting final plans for Sterling Heights, a $53 million municipal housing project that would make or break the company's reputation. Without my authorization, they couldn't submit blueprints. Without submissions, they'd miss the deadline and face penalties that would make lottery jackpots look like pocket change. The voicemails were pure entertainment. Started casual. Hey buddy, having some trouble accessing files. Escalated to concerned. We need to talk immediately about this system malfunction, then desperate panic. By midnight, Vanessa was calling it a misunderstanding. By 2 a.m., she was offering to double my salary plus equity options, the kind of money that could change everything about my life. But here's the thing. While they were panicking, my best friend Logan from the city's public safety department had been investigating Vanguard Apex. Turns out they'd been systematically falsifying safety compliance reports, backdating inspection documents, and submitting altered blueprints that didn't match what was actually being built. Grade A. Steel getting swapped for Grade B. Fire safety features quietly disappearing from final plans. Load calculations that played fast and loose with safety margins. I think Vanessa's rushing projects to inflate short-term profits, Logan told me over coffee at a 24-hour diner 2 weeks before my birthday disaster. Maybe setting up for a buyout or major investment, he spread documents across the table like building a case for prosecution. Look at this. Project Orion Downtown Office Complex. Original specs called for Grade A, steel throughout. Final submission shows Grade B in non-critical areas, according to who? And that's just one project. That made way too much sense. All those flashy promises to clients, pressure to cut costs wherever possible, willingness to gamble with safety standards, all pointed to someone trying to pump up company value for big payday. Instead of going back, I started my own company, Summit Integrity Partners. Cities hire me to audit construction submissions before approving permits. I verify blueprints are accurate, safety features are real, materials match what's promised. It's like preventive medicine for construction projects. Logan became my first client. The city had been looking for exactly the service for years. Tired of dealing with safety violations after the fact. Tired of liability exposure. Tired of trusting developers were being honest about submissions. My first official assignment was auditing 3 projects already in the approval pipeline. 2 were straightforward, competent developers who'd done their homework. The third made my blood run cold. It was a Vanguard Apex project. Beacon Crest, 24 units of affordable housing supposed to break ground in 2 months. I spent 3 days going through every document, every blueprint, every specification sheet. What I found was a masterclass in lying with architectural drawings. Submitted plans showed proper fire suppression systems, adequate electrical capacity, building materials meeting all safety codes. But cross-referencing documentation with actual purchase orders and contractor agreements revealed completely different reality. Fire suppression, downgraded to bare minimum code requirements. Electrical systems undersized for actual load they'd carry, and building materials. Grade E steel reinforcement and grade C steel that looks similar are not the same thing. Despite what Vanguard Apex's purchasing department seemed to believe, my report was 22 pages of documented safety violations, falsified documents, and recommendations that basically said, "Do not approve this death. Trap under any circumstances." The fallout was immediate and spectacular. City not only rejected permit application, but launched formal investigation into other pending projects. State Contractor Licensing Board opened inquiry. 3 news outlets picked up story turning Vanessa's company into poster child for construction industry corruption. Within 6 months, I was handling verification for 15 municipalities across 4 counties. My team had grown from just me and laptop to 8 full-time auditors with enough work to keep us busy until next ice age. We'd flagged safety violations in 41 different projects, prevented genuinely catastrophic building failures, and earned reputation developers either loved or absolutely despised, depending on whether they were building death traps or actual safe structures. Vanguard Apex fell squarely into absolutely despised category. Plot twist. 6 months later, Vanguard Apex's board hired me to fix their compliance systems. Richard Sterling, board chairman with enough political connections to get parking tickets dismissed, sent formal consultation request offering triple my usual rate, plus complete independence and authority. The meeting was surreal. Returning to scene of the crime, conference room packed with entire executive leadership, plus expensive suit lawyers. Vanessa looked nothing like confident CEO for my birthday disaster. She looked tired, stressed, defeated. When I walked in, she said quietly, "Thank you for coming. I know this is probably the last place you want to be." Then something unexpected happened. She interrupted Sterling's prepared PR speech about corporate responsibility. "Cut the corporate speech, Richard. He knows exactly what we've been doing and why we're here." She looked at me directly. "We completely crossed the line, and people's lives were at risk because of my calls. I need help untangling this mess, and you are the only one I trust to handle it." Trust. The word hung between us like smoke from house fire. But looking at Vanessa stripped of all CEO swagger, I realized she wasn't trying to manipulate me back into fold. She was just desperate. And desperation, unlike arrogance, is something you can actually work with. My terms. Summit Integrity becomes exclusive compliance partner with complete authority to override any design, reject any material choice, shut down any project that doesn't meet safety standards. Plus one more condition. Vanessa personally completes same training program I give junior compliance officers. All of it. Every module, every test, every practical exercise. Lawrence Boyd made choking sound that might have been laughter or horror. Richard Sterling looked like he'd watched someone propose at funeral, but Vanessa stared at me for 10 seconds, calculating whether her pride was worth more than company survival. "Tell me where to sign up," she asked. That's how I found myself in completely surreal position of being Vanessa's compliance instructor, teaching former sister-in-law how to follow same safety regulations she'd been systematically ignoring for years. She actually took it seriously. First week, I expected pushback, eye-rolling, passive-aggressive comments about theoretical knowledge not applying to real world. Instead, Vanessa showed up every day with notebooks, asked detailed questions, actually seemed to pay attention when I explained why certain standards existed. "So the fire barriers aren't just about passing a checklist," she noted during week 2. "It's about making sure that if a crisis hits, families have a real chance to escape." "Spot on," I said, realizing I was actually enjoying this. "Code minimums are just that, minimums. They're absolute least you can do and still call yourself responsible builder, but responsible builders aim higher." The transformation was gradual but undeniable. Projects that would have been rubber-stamped 6 months ago were getting thorough reviews, materials upgraded to meet actual safety standards rather than minimum legal requirements, timelines extended for proper inspections. Vanessa was learning, really learning, not just going through motions. Real tests came month 3 when longtime contractor Gable Foundations, sleazy outfit specializing in cutting corners and inflating bills, submitted plans for shopping center that looked legitimate but was full of subtle safety compromises that had been Vanessa's trademark. Old Vanessa would have approved without second thought. New Vanessa spent 2 hours with my team, identified 7 major violations, then personally called Arthur Gable to explain why his company would no longer work on Vanguard Apex projects. "Are you out of your mind?" Gable shouted loud enough I could hear through speakerphone. "We've been your go-to partner for 5 years. You know how this business operates." "The business operates differently now," Vanessa shot back, perfectly composed. "If you want another contract, bring me designs that respect the regulations. Real regulations, not shortcuts." 3 other contractors dropped bids rather than deal with new compliance requirements. But contractors who stayed, ones willing to actually build things properly, were delivering better work than Vanguard Apex had ever seen. The partnership worked. Vanguard Apex became company that could actually be trusted with people's safety. Client satisfaction soared. Insurance costs dropped. Building inspectors who used to approach their projects like haunted houses were actually complimenting attention to detail. And maybe most surprisingly, Vanessa seemed happier. Like she'd been carrying massive weight, knowing she was cutting corners and compromising safety, and now could finally build things right and sleep at night. Don't get me wrong, she was still a woman who'd humiliated me in front of colleagues. But watching her grind through compliance training, seeing her take responsibility instead of blaming others, observing her actually care about whether buildings would keep people safe, it was like watching someone remember who they used to be before corporate pressure turned them into someone they didn't recognize. My divorce from Evelyn was finalized 3 months earlier. Turns out when your wife sides with someone who publicly destroys your career, it's pretty clear sign marriage was over anyway. Settlement was fair. Lawyers didn't completely bankrupt me, and for first time in years, I was living in space that felt like home rather than staging area for family drama. On 1-year anniversary of my birthday disaster, I got another package. Same black t-shirt, same company logo, different message in bold white letters. "Thank you for saving the company." No card, no lengthy explanation, just simple acknowledgement wrapped in same format that started this whole journey. The truth was her little birthday surprise had backfired in ways she never could have imagined. She'd tried to humiliate me, strip away dignity, show everyone who had real power. Instead, she'd given me push I needed to build something bigger and better than anything I could have accomplished working for someone else. Summit integrity was mine, my vision, standards, team, reputation. Nobody could take it away with cute stunts or corporate restructuring or family arguments. I'd built something that mattered, making worlds safer, one compliance review at a time. Now I have business handling verification for 26 municipalities with 15 employees who depend on me not screwing up their paychecks. Making more money than ever, sleeping knowing my work keeps people safe. Trade publications write articles about our innovative approach. I speak at industry conferences about independent oversight, improving construction safety. The construction industry was actually getting safer because of what we were doing. And that felt better than any revenge fantasy I could have cooked up. I keep both t-shirts in my desk drawer. 2 completely different messages marking beginning and transformation of what turned out to be best year of my professional life. Sometimes worst thing that happens teaches you that you can actually fly. Sometimes getting pushed off cliff shows you capabilities you never knew existed. And sometimes person who tries to destroy your career gives you motivation to build something better than you ever thought possible. That was real gift. Not shirt, not acknowledgement, not even apology that never quite got spoken. Real gift was discovering I didn't need anyone else's permission to build career.